It's called Love in the Face of ISIS, a book covering 7 prayer strategies for crisis in the Middle East.
In 1 John, it says God is love, and so if you substitute God in the face of ISIS, there comes this whole other powerful meaning. But we know that God's heart is for all to be saved. He doesn't wish any to perish.
Author Lorraine Marie Varela and her husband Gabriel lead a ministry called Inspiring Faith International. She says her book is about carrying God's heart into conflict.
Jesus spoke about loving your enemies. What does that look like? It's easy for us to say that when we're sitting in the West from our comfortable homes and churches to love our enemies, but when we're confronted with such a violent group, it really changes the dynamics of how we need to respond.
Varela adds that first response must be prayer.
I had a vision of being seated in heaven looking at the earth from God's perspective, and I knew that that was a prayer directive. When we pray, we realign our thoughts and our attitudes, our perspective, our eyesight, our vision with what He's saying and doing, and then we change, and then we come into alignment to release His strategies and directives over a situation.
In her book, she lays out the strategies.
The Lord showed me that through His covenant names, we can release strategy. He's the Lord who is there, first of all. So we want to cover the whole area with His presence. He is the Lord, our provider. There's a need for provision. You know, there's uprising taking place once more. And so as a result, people are being displaced and women are becoming widowed. And there's a real need for physical sustenance and help. So there were 7 different covenant names of God that He led me through to release His love over the situation, over people.
Those names include the presence, the armies and protection of God, as well as perseverance for the people of God, and provision, healing, and peace of God.
What I love about the book is that 1, it awakens people's hearts for the situation in the Middle East, but 2, it awakens their hearts to what God's purposes is over them and their families and their own life situations. So all of those covenant names of God, they're applicable no matter where you live and what your situation is.
Varela sees it as a boomerang effect.
When we pray for the needs of others, God brings that blessing back to us. And so if I want to pray for His presence to be very real in the Middle East, and I'm dedicating my time to doing that, He's then bringing His presence back on my home and my family.
A film version of the book based on real-life stories is also in development. It will focus on the struggle of 2 Iraqi brothers torn from their family who fall into a gang controlled by ISIS.
The purpose of the film is to bring encounters for Muslim people with the heart of Jesus. And that can happen in a movie theater, that can happen in your home watching the DVD, but it's to bring encounters in His presence to be real. And for believers to have an awakening of the need to be praying for our brothers and sisters and those in the Middle East, and just to have a heart change.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.